Get ready for the action because number 11 Virginia's late rally fell short in overtime against number 3 North Carolina. We dive deep into the incredible comeback attempt by the Cavaliers, how James Madden secured the crucial rebound, and the intense pressure that led to the final moments of this high-stakes game.
Stop using your finger for notes, sketches, and edits. This Jam Jake stylus pen gives your iPad a smoother, more precise writing feel with palm rejection so your hand can rest naturally on the screen. It charges fast, works for hours, and comes with replacement tips. Perfect for school, work, or creative projects. Check the link in the comments to grab it on Amazon.
Next up, we look at the environmental crisis gripping North Carolina. Proposed monitoring and minimization rules for industrial dischargers of 14-dioxane and public sewage plants are being slammed by critics who say they are completely inadequate and fail to protect drinking water sources. Then we shift gears to state politics as North Carolina lawmakers return to session this week. We break down what top insiders are pushing for, from the looming budget crisis and Medicaid funding shortages to fierce debates over tax policy and the path to holding the state's majority. Finally, we cover the aftermath of a tragic event at the Triangle Town Center. We examine the reopening one day after 3 people were shot, what shoppers witnessed, and the ongoing questions about public safety and security in our community. Stay with us for the full story. Number 11, Virginia, suffered a heartbreaking overtime loss to number 3 North Carolina, falling 16-15 after a dramatic comeback attempt at Clerkner Stadium on Saturday. The game was defined by a ferocious North Carolina offensive surge that overwhelmed the Cavaliers in the final quarter. Virginia had clawed back from a 4-goal deficit, but North Carolina scored 7 consecutive goals over 15 minutes, including 4 straight man-up strikes in the final minutes of the first quarter. This onslaught was fueled by numerous penalty opportunities, including 2 unnecessary roughness calls and an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which North Carolina converted into goals through Nate Sage, Dominic Pietramala, and Luke Bear. Despite the defensive struggles during the man-down phases in the first quarter, Virginia's defense was significantly bolstered by graduate goalie Jake Merrick, who made 14 of 30 shots on goal, performing exceptionally well against North Carolina's 52-shot barrage. Merrick made 6 saves in the first quarter alone, compared to 3 by the North Carolina starter. Virginia managed to cut the deficit to 2 at halftime, but North Carolina mounted a second straight 1-goal defeat, ending Virginia's winning streak against Notre Dame and Duke. The final minutes saw Virginia rally with 3 consecutive goals from Brendan Millen, Ryan Calsey, and McCabe Millen, with Dunkel scoring the game-tying goal with 1 second remaining. However, an unnecessary roughness call on Ty English on the game-tying goal denied Virginia a potential man-up advantage in overtime. In overtime, North Carolina capitalized on a rebound, with James Madden beating Merrick to secure the victory. Coach Lars Tiffany expressed disappointment, praising the team's fight but acknowledging the final moments were frustrating. Millen finished with 3 goals and 3 assists, moving to the 3rd spot on Virginia's all-time freshman points list. Virginia remains in contention for the ACC tournament, while the Cavaliers look to regain confidence in their upcoming matchup against Clemson on Sunday. The team emphasized the importance of their culture, hard preparation, and mutual belief moving forward. Proposed monitoring and minimization rules targeting industrial dischargers of 14-dioxane and public sewage plants, accepting their waste in North Carolina, have been sharply criticized as completely inadequate by residents and environmental groups, who argue the regulations fail to protect drinking water sources and lack meaningful enforcement. Speakers at a public hearing held at Fayetteville Technical Community College Tuesday contended that the proposed rules fall short in reducing the discharge of 14-dioxane into drinking water and lack necessary consequences for noncompliance. One resident, Madison Williams, stated that the term minimization in the rule is misleading, asserting that the regulation does not compel polluters to reduce emissions of PFAS or 14-dioxane into North Carolina drinking water supplies and imposes no penalties, effectively describing it as a polluter-written rule. The proposed framework requires publicly owned treatment works receiving industrial wastewater, along with their manufacturers, to monitor for 14-dioxane discharges into local water bodies. Facilities would undergo baseline monitoring for 1 year, with the potential for additional sampling if results warrant it. Should ongoing sampling be deemed necessary, direct dischargers would be required to develop a minimization plan aimed at reducing or eliminating pollutants at the source before discharge. Crucially, the proposed rules do not establish specific discharge limits or penalties for violations. This absence of enforceable limits has fueled significant opposition from public drinking, water providers, and environmental organizations. Jonelle Kimbra, executive director of Sustainable Sandhills, warned that over 1 million North Carolina residents rely on water from the Cape Fear River, which is contaminated with 14-dioxane, PFAS, and other forever chemicals, and stressed that current regulations are insufficient. Rob Clark of Cape Fear River Watch echoed these concerns, declaring the rules completely inadequate for addressing PFAS and 14-dioxane pollution in the Cape Fear River basin. He questioned the viability of relying on polluters to voluntarily reduce pollution without enforceable limits, asking if businesses would cut profits to mitigate discharge into waterways. North Carolina lawmakers are set to return to Raleigh this week for a condensed legislative session ahead of the fall midterm elections, facing an overwhelming and complex agenda. Top political insiders indicate that lawmakers will be tackling a daunting list of issues, including a critical budget impasse, unresolved disagreements over tax policy, and ongoing political battles on social issues like guns and diversity. The legislative cycle presents a tight timeline, with only a few months available to address major policy challenges. Current fiscal realities are severe. There is no new budget in place, leading to a situation where state employees are going without promised raises, and the state's healthcare system for 3 million residents is projected to run out of money next month. Key sticking points dominating the legislative agenda include the annual farm bill failing to become law, deep divisions among Republican leaders over tax policy, and persistent political conflicts. Compounding these issues are external pressures from federal program cuts, rising inflation, and population growth, all demanding a swift budget resolution to sustain essential services. The central conflict revolves around tax policy. While plans exist for gradual personal income tax rate reductions, bipartisan revenue forecasts suggest North Carolina is on track for a deficit by the 2026-27 fiscal year unless these cuts are halted. House Speaker Destin Hall advocates for maintaining current tax levels to protect state funding for institutions like the UNC system, while Senate Leader Phil Berger supports continued tax reductions, dismissing deficit warnings. In response to the funding crisis, Senate Democratic leader Sidney Batch has proposed tapping into the state's substantial savings account to cover urgent funding gaps, particularly for Medicaid. Medicaid funding is a major casualty of the budget standoff, with Department of Health and Human Services officials warning that the program may collapse next month, jeopardizing access for over 3 million residents, including the elderly and low-income families. Lawmakers are also grappling with workforce issues. A lack of proposed raises has hampered recruitment and retention across state agencies, leading to public frustration over delays in essential services. Furthermore, the political landscape is highly charged. With the November elections approaching, Republicans face a significant threat to their majority. A Republican state legislative commission memo has flagged North Carolina as a state requiring defense against Democratic gains, citing concerns over spending and polling. While some Republican leaders have pushed through specific measures, such as relaxing concealed carry requirements, the path to maintaining power in 2026 is described as narrow. House priorities include property tax reform, with a push to restrict local government control over tax rates, though Senate alignment on this issue remains unclear. The session will be a high-stakes battleground where fiscal necessity, deep ideological divides, and looming electoral politics converge. Triangle Town Center reopened on Saturday, one day after a shooting incident left 3 people injured inside the mall. Shoppers returned to the center at 1 p.m. Saturday. The incident occurred on Friday afternoon, when Raleigh Police Department responded to reports of 3 17-year-olds confronting and assaulting a 20-year-old employee, who was reportedly armed with a handgun, resulting in shots being fired. According to police, the 20-year-old and one of the 17-year-olds remained at the scene until officers arrived. 2 of the other 17-year-olds fled the scene, including one who sustained an injury and was transported to a local hospital, where police were also present. Raleigh police recovered 2 handguns at the scene. Authorities confirmed that 3 individuals were shot and taken to the hospital, with injuries reported as not life-threatening. Raleigh Police Lieutenant David Davis stated that the victims were connected to the groups involved, and no bystanders were shot. Triangle Town Center owner Rahul Hassani recounted the event, describing a rapid sequence of events where he heard a single gunshot followed by several others, and witnessed people running and seeking emergency exits. Hassani expressed surprise that the mall reopened so quickly, noting that the weekend is a busy time for business. He stated that he observed no visible signs of a shooting when he walked through the mall on Saturday afternoon. In response to the incident, Triangle Town Center spokesperson Jordan Barovitz announced that the mall would increase security patrols by 50% for an undetermined period. Henderson resident Yasmine Person visited the center on Saturday, noting she saw information about the shooting on social media but did not feel unsafe. When questioned about preventative measures, Barovitz declined an interview. Raleigh City Councilwoman Megan Patton issued a statement, emphasizing that while she was relieved there was no active shooter situation, incidents like this create uncertainty, and pledged continued support for first responders and community solidarity. Mayor Janet Cowell has not yet responded to inquiries from WRAL News regarding the shooting.